I'd like to call the City Council to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Brian, would you start us off?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nina, would you please call the roll?
Councilperson Alvarez?
Here.
Councilperson Pogorski?
Here.
Councilperson Geishurst?
Here.
Councilperson Clem? Councilperson Williams?
Here.
Councilperson Gully?
Here.
Councilperson Zilli?
Here.
We have the approval of the minutes from April 4th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have communications, correspondence, and announcements from the mayor. I have just one quick announcement. 2 years ago, under this administration, we started the Veterans Banner Program, and we were very excited about it. Everybody knows that many members of my family are veterans, and I'm very inclined to respect our veterans. So we started a Veterans Banner Program. The banners were hanging off of the poles along Central Avenue. And even though they were 5 feet long, they looked like postage stamps up there. But the biggest problem we had was that the brackets were not in good shape. They were rusted out really bad. And the wind. When we had winds of 35 and 40 miles an hour, they beat these banners really bad. And I have some of the banners up here if you want to see them. So we discontinued the banner program temporarily for this round because there is no way I was going to go down Central Avenue and see a veteran's banner laying on the ground. And that we cannot fix those poles. They are what they are. We've priced out new brackets. We've done everything we can to try to make these banners work on those poles. Last year, when we started in the spring to put the banners back up, several of them were already beat up pretty bad by the wind. So we had new banners made for the ones that were in bad shape. We had them double stitched. We did extra grommets, everything we could, and it didn't matter because we don't have any protection for them once they're up that high and the wind starts beating on them. We have not discontinued our Veterans Recognition Program, because I'm going to call it that, because we're not sure if we're going to ever be able to put banners back up there again. We're looking at several different options to honor our veterans, because to put those banners up there and have them be beat to shreds in that wind is not acceptable to me or anybody else. So we feel bad about it. I feel terrible about it. I bought 4 of those banners. So, it was our way of honoring our veterans, and we're not done with that program. It's just that we're going to have to do something different. So instead of people getting on Facebook and being critical about something when they only know some of the facts, ordering new banners is not necessarily going to fix our problem. Our problem is the poles. It's the way we have to put them up there. We had to zip tie them and do other things to try to get them to stay up there. But there is no way we're going to put banners up there and have them shredded in the wind. So we have a committee that's working. I've met with the American Legion. Anybody else that would like to participate in helping us solve the problem of what we're going to do to honor our veterans is more than welcome to come here to City Hall and participate with us. Getting out on Facebook and complaining isn't the answer. It's coming together and figuring out how we are going to honor our veterans and yet not have these banners getting shredded in the wind. So that's all I have to say about that. You can contact me if you want to participate in this. You are more than welcome to be involved. So that's all I have. Clerk Treasurer's report, please.
It's been a really, really busy last 30 days or so. I'm happy to, well, you could see that you have your financial reports in Dropbox. Those will be able to be cranked out now monthly because the utility and city financial system merge is complete. The 2023 reconciliations through March are complete, and if you guys don't know, which you may not, we have over 30 banks. It's a lot because of each bond issuance. Just for example, the police station that was the RDA lease. I mean, that's 3 statements. So it's a lot, but it's all squared away. The equipment bond, the bond bank is reviewing any applications next Wednesday. So we should know by Thursday the status of that. Also, because there's no rest for the weary, we had our entrance audit today with State Board on ARPA funds. It should be simple. I already pulled the information. It should be finished by next week, but it still took all day. And if you guys have, I don't know who all has seen my Monica's closet, but it is done and organized too. That's all.
Thank you, Nina.
Is this the last year of our yearly audits that we've been doing the last 4 years?
Would be nice. It should be, as far as the federal. So actually, what they're doing right now, it's not actually, it's an audit, but it's not considered an actual federal audit. It's a federal examination. I don't think they have enough bodies to fulfill the requirement of all of the audits because of the ARPA funds, because normally we wouldn't be audited as a federal, a federal audit, because we don't normally receive enough funds to be federally audited. So it should go back to the typical every 2 years.
Okay. Thank you. President Podgorski, do you have someone to read the proclamation?
Gina, would you do that, please?
The City of Portage Office of the Mayor, Portage, Indiana proclamation. To all to whom this presents may come, greetings. Whereas the area that someone lives in plays a significant role in their overall health and well-being. And whereas surroundings can impact if, how, and when a person's needs are met, which in turn affects mental health. Whereas having safe, stable, and healthy home conditions set the foundation for achieving and maintaining good mental health. And whereas with early and effective interventions, those individuals with mental health conditions can recover and lead full, productive lives. Whereas each business, school, government agency, healthcare provider, organization, and citizen share the burden of mental health problems and has a responsibility to promote mental health wellness and support prevention efforts. Therefore, I, Sue Lynch, Mayor of City of Portage, do here proclaim the month of May 2023, as Mental Health Month. Do I need to read the rest of it?
Okay. We have someone from EAP, one of the agencies that worked with our employees on mental health issues. Gina, would you come forward and let Becky? Does the council want to come around and take a picture with Becky?
Do you want to take a picture? We have reports from standing committees. Do you have a,
Ordinance Committee didn't meet today. We'll meet in June at our regular time.
I have no report for the Budget Committee. We'll schedule a meeting in June after we hear about our equipment bond.
okay, thank you. We have reports from city officials. Chief Candiano?
Hello.
Hello.
All right, so I'll give you some numbers here from April. So for April, we had our total incidents came in at 3,203. That put us at about 107 a day, so about 10 up from last month. So today, it doesn't feel like it's getting warmer, but it's getting warmer, so getting busier. That's got us setting at 11,673 incidents so far this year. So hiring and staffing, we currently have 3 officers in our field training program. Recently made a conditional officer to fill one of our open spots, and we have 3 additional openings currently, plus we'll have a 4th coming in June and a 5th in August. So one of the things that we're trying, we're going to do an emergency hire process, see what that gets us. So we're looking for academy certified officers. It's kind of an expedited process to see if anybody wants to come over from any other departments. So essentially, we're trying to steal some officers from other places. I don't feel bad about saying it.
They stealing from Portage.
It's happened in the past. It hasn't happened in a while, but it did happen in the past. So I think it's time for us to get a little payback. But so we will be advertising that out there, trying to get the word out. See if we can get some quality people to fill some of these spots. We'll be taking those apps for, I think it's the next month, and then we'll roll right into another traditional hiring process because obviously we're going to have spots that are just going to keep on coming open with all the retirements and movement we've got. So a couple of things that we did last month as far as community engagement. We participated in the YMCA Healthy Kids Day. We were at the Chamber Business Night. We have been participating in the support services partnership meetings with Portage Township Schools. So basically what that is fire department's been with us there on that too. We're trying to, she's always trying to upstage me. We've been trying to find ways that, there's so many different programs and things in our community to help kids. The problem is getting everybody in touch with each other, having that linkage and things that we've been speaking about. So we've been participating in those meetings, just trying to find out ways to improve the lives of the youth in our community. So we also had some officers participate in the Goggles and Carts program. We partnered up with some other neighboring agencies in the area for that. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a anti-drunk driving type thing for students, young adults. So pretty happy to have been involved in that. We've also done some station tours. We had Myers and Kyle Elementary. I was told that there was a vote and our tour was much more exciting than the fire department's. So there's a lot of them sitting here. They're trying to intimidate me, but the kids voted, so I don't know what to tell you. So we did do that. It's always nice to have the kids come in. It's pretty cool. And we've got, Tilly back there who's interrupting me. I think she kind of pulls some of that attention, so we do have a secret weapon. So we start in trail patrol. It's getting warm. People are out using the trails. We'll be out there, and then we're going to go back to the, which we started last year, the neighborhood bike patrol. So you'll probably start seeing bikes in your neighborhoods as we're getting warmer. So, and then we also participated, I believe there was an elementary tour here at City Hall, and again, Tilly and Captain Monks came by, hung out there. Generally, whenever we take a dog somewhere, they forget about us and pay attention to the dog. So we do have a secret weapon on that stuff. So we're also, I think I mentioned last month, we've been rolling with the part-time SRO program, getting our officers into the elementary schools. I've heard nothing but great feedback on this from parents, staff, kids, our officers that are doing it. So great program, very excited about it. Glad to be partnered with Portage Township Schools on that. So obviously, we're coming up to the end of the school year, but the plan is to get that going again next school year and that just be a permanent thing that we're doing. So pretty excited about that. Just an update, we had ordered some cars at the beginning of the year. They are starting to come in. There's a little delay on the upfitting just because of scheduling, and somehow we're still dealing with parts that come in late. It's 2023 and we're still blaming COVID for stuff, but it is what it is. So we're a little bit behind on some of that stuff, but you'll start seeing some new cars getting out there real soon. We're about 6 months into having our body cams. Just a reminder, we got them. They are working great. It's been great to have for I think, benefit for everybody involved, the citizens, the officers, just an all-around good program. I'm glad that we were able to finally get that going. So like I said, we're about 6 months on that. I think we've worked out most of the bugs with having a new program, but just a reminder that those are out there for the community members that may be concerned about whether or not we have them. Just a reminder, we do. A little bit of training. We had our SWAT officers last week. We're at a SWAT school, and then they came back Friday afternoon and responded to a SWAT call out to a sister of the jurisdiction. So glad to get them out there. The last couple of years, we've had to cut back on that training a little bit, but as far as that conference, but we were able to find some funds to send them this year, so pretty happy about that. And then our K-9 officers, other than Tilly, are currently at a K-9 conference. So anytime we can get, out to these conferences and things, and the networking and things with these different teams and such, it's the training here is great, but sometimes when you can go away and see how other people are doing things and pick up ideas, it's really nice to be able to have that opportunity to do. So we thank you for those monies in our training accounts and things that have helped with that. So a couple retirements I want to mention. Within the last month, we had the following retirements. Lieutenant Janice Crafton and Lieutenant Troy Williams both retired after long distinguished careers with us. So I want to thank them for their service and wish them good luck on the next step in their careers, in their lives. Due to those, we had some promotions. Evan Wazalewski and Chris Birch were promoted to lieutenant. Tony Danduran was promoted to sergeant, and Steve McGraw and Jake Wyrick back here, one of our SROs, was promoted to corporal. So congratulations to all of them. And then one last thing here. So as I said earlier, our calls are up. This doesn't necessarily mean that we're becoming a less safe community. I just want everybody to understand that. It's an election season. I understand there's different information being put out there. And unfortunately, I think there was some misinformation that came out in the last couple months, trying to paint us as being an unsafe community. That's not the case. Your police department is not ineffective. I personally think it's a little bit of a slap in the face to all of our officers that are out there every day working in the community to try to paint it that way. But I'll just give you a little bit of an explanation. I mean, increased business traffic, residential areas, we're a growing city. We have 3 major highways going through our city. As it grows, your calls for service are going to grow. This doesn't mean that your violent crimes and things are growing. You're going to have more accidents. You're going to have retail theft. You're going to have these things as you grow. More people in the neighborhood, you have fights amongst family members. You have these things. So the more people you put into an area, the more calls you're going to have for service for police, fire, and everybody. So just wanted to kind of put that out there. Another thing, I think we're one of the most transparent police departments in the area. We share all the good. We share all the bad. That's part of being transparent. I think that's what people want to see. So you see more of what's going on in your city. Some people may not like to see all that, but I think that's how you should do it so that you understand what's going on. So just wanted to put that out there. With all that being said, the week of May 15th is National Police Week. This year, 33 officers have already died in the line of duty, and over half of those have been caused by gunfire and assault. Sadly, this job is not getting any easier or safer. So kind of in lieu of that, or going along with that, on May 19th at 1 p.m. at Woodland Park, we'll be having a luncheon this year to honor those that we've lost and those who currently serve. So if you remember in the past, we've always done a memorial at one of the parks, very formal, our dress uniforms, things like that. We kind of wanted this year to be more of a celebration of everybody, more of a relaxed atmosphere. We're going to do a luncheon. We're inviting the community, anybody from the city that wants to come. We're going to have food. We're going to pay our respects and do things like that, but I also want to celebrate all those that are in law enforcement, and so we're going to change it up. I think the majority of the officers are very in favor of doing something like this. It's the first year. There'll probably be some things we got to work out, but I'm pretty excited of going a little bit of a different route with it. So again, May 19th, 1 p.m. at Woodland Park. Anybody that wants to come, eat, hang out with the officers, get to know us. I want it to be more of a community-involved event rather than just a ceremony for us and a select few within the city. Kind of want it to be more of a thing for us to get out there amongst the people. So I was long-winded. I realize Randy will tell me when he gets up here, but anybody got any questions?
Can you
Mark, will
repeat
you
the
be
date?
having our auxiliary officers there too?
Yep, everybody's invited. So we're actually, the sheriff's department will cover our calls for service during that time. We do the same for them when they have their ceremony. So my plan would be to have all of our staff that's not on vacation or not previously engaged to be there that day. That's our clerical, animal control, code enforcement, our reserves, everybody. So that's the plan.
Thank you, great idea.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Wilkening?
Good evening, everyone. I don't have to say anything. I texted him. Told him he was long-winded, so he knows. So for the month of April, we were about even with the year before, a little bit down, but we're all running about the same numbers. We had 414 twice. So that was a goal of ours to cut that down and be able to handle our own calls. So total for the year, we have 1,727 total calls, 1,255 EMS, 13 fires. We had 27 mutual aid calls come into the city. At this time last year, we had 108. So we've cut it by 75%. So that's the men and women here. They've done a great job of being able to handle our call volume. As far as personnel, we did have 5 firefighters graduate from the fire academy. It was a very nice ceremony. Battalion Chief Crail did an excellent job. They do give out some awards for instructors of the year for the academy, and I'm happy to say that our battalion chief, Andy Hyman, was the recipient of the instructor of the year. So we have a very big part in that they had actually had 5 counties represented in that academy. So it is a big deal, and for us to be leaders in that is a wonderful thing to see. Our merit board did just finish up testing for our promotional process. So we always make a list every year, so when promotions come up, they're all ready. So a lot of our members went through that and did all the testing and interviewing, so kudos to everybody that participated. Unfortunately, we still have 5 open spots. We have one that went for their physical that we're waiting for results back. So we are getting ready to do another hiring process. We've increased our hiring processes to 3 times a year. We do take applications all year round. So anybody, if you know anyone that is interested, just have them come to the fire department or see us online and fill out an application. We do have 2 firefighters on workman's comp injury, and we also have 1 on light duty. However, the 1 on light duty is going to be returning to work next week, so we're happy to have him back. Our vehicle status is pretty much unchanged. We do have 1 vehicle that's out for getting repainted and getting some rust spots, so we are in one of the backup rigs, but our crews are doing a good job of keeping all those in service, so we're doing well there. We did finally get information on ambulances, so it was a long and tedious task, so we're starting to develop bids to start ordering a new ambulance. Actually, 1 new ambulance, and we're going to get another chassis to re-chassis it, so, because right now they are saying it's about 2 to 3 years out. So we are definitely having to pre-plan ahead of time to get that stuff done. And again, the new engine is still on track for early 2024, so we look forward to that. As far as grants and everything, we're still waiting for our federal grant to hear if anything about that. That's still another month or 2 out at least, so we won't hear anything from that. I did meet with somebody who, they have a program going on where you can recoup partial, if not all, of the excise tax for fuel. So we are working with that, and I've talked with Clerk Treasurer Nina Rivas and let her know about what's going on. So they're sending us information. So that could be a substantial savings for our fuel costs. So, and I did talk to him, and you know, he was interested in the fire department, but then also the entire city can benefit from that. As far as training, you know, we train every week, so we've done really well on that. We did receive a bunch of new power tools, they're battery-powered cutting tools, so the crews have been taking those out and learning how to use them and making sure they are in good working order. So they've done a lot of that. We also have firefighters finishing up in classes of fire investigation, fire instructor, and fire officer. Right now, we are also in the process of running our acting engineer class. That's where we take guys to learn how to be acting engineers in case the engineer is gone. So if you saw one of our tower trucks out over by the Portage Mall this afternoon, that's what they were doing, flowing water. In fact, it's all these guys that were out there. We did have to go through a DEA inspection this week. The state has mandated that the hospitals can no longer give us controlled substances, so we now have to get our own and house them, and so we have a whole bunch of hoops that we have to jump through and get inspected and to make sure that they're secure. So they're kind of walking us through what we need to do.
Did the state fund that directive?
Do they ever?
Okay.
No, another non-funded mandate, so, yeah. So we have to do all of our own. Community involvement, as we are still continuing to hand out gun locks. We have those at all the stations. We have had a busy month with the school tours, as Chief Candiano indicated so eloquently, that they've been coming out, and they do have a good time. We didn't threaten any of our kids with incarceration, and they still had a good time. We also participated in the YMCA Healthy Kids Day. We did the chamber event. We've also done, we have quite a few riders from the EMT classes and vocational classes, and we're hopefully trying to use that to attract more people to come apply for us. We've done some work fairs. We did the Rotary Clubs, or exchange clubs, child abuse prevention symposium that they had at the Boys and Girls Club. It was very informative. It was a great networking tool, so we really got to meet with a bunch of people, especially from the schools, and we're doing a lot of stuff as far as safe sleep and other things like that to prevent child fatalities, so right along those lines. So it was a great benefit for us to make some connections. And then last, what I'd like to bring up is, I know this year has not been the best year for us as far as calls go, and we've had some pretty rough months. But earlier this last month, we did have a crew went out, and they had somebody that was in cardiac arrest, and they were able to successfully revive them. And then 2 hours later, another crew went out and delivered a baby in the back of an ambulance. So it was, that crew was flying pretty high, and they all did an excellent job. And so it just, congratulations to all of them, and it just shows just how unpredictable that this job really is. And these people go to work every day not knowing what they're going to run into. So that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Chief, just as a Park Foundation board member, I want to thank you guys for coming out and helping us at the Brew Fest. I'll steal Diane's thunder. And,
Oh, yep.
And thank you guys for coming out and helping, help that be a success so we raise some money for Gilbert Park.
We were happy to do it. Is that it? Thanks.
Thanks, Randy. Thanks for all you do. Darren, do you have a streets report?
Yes. Evening, everybody. So I've tried to out-talk these two together, and I've almost went into cardiac arrest, so it's, I ain't gonna try it. So we've had 620 phone calls, 346 emails, got 250 yard passes, and we've had over 500 people show up at the street department, walking in, ask questions, or dropping things off, whether recycling limbs, leaves, and such. And we also had 26 bulk charges. We was out there since April 3rd through the 21st, picking up leaves for after the winter. So, and during that time, we had that big storm that came through and wiped out quite a few trees, and there's still cleanup going on. I wanted to encourage the residents. We are no longer out there with the leaf bag. We've got other things that need to get done throughout the city. I'd like to encourage them to either bring them to the street department, or you take them up to the compost site. We're open from 7 to 3. Compost site is open from 8 to 4, Monday through Saturday. We are also open on Saturdays at the street department from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So if you want to drop them off, either that or bag up your leaves and we'll pick them up. We just got a lot to do. Our mowing crews are in full force out there. So it's, once that rain hit, it was growing fast. So we are out there. The mowers we got are working great. Had no problems with them. I also want to remind people, with the limb pickup, it doesn't matter if you use a contractor or do it yourself. If you're going to put a lot of limbs and trees out there, there's going to be a charge. We've had people get contractors and bring them up they're talking that we pick it up for free. The first load is free. If you've seen the grapple trucks, they look like dumpsters on the backs of these trucks, and after the second load, third load, they're like $200 a load. So just watch what you put out there. If the contractor comes out to do it, have them take it away, you know. Also, speaking of the veterans, we do have the new banners. They say Veterans/Memorial Day. They do have wind slots that go through the middle of them now. So we will be putting those up probably sometime in mid-May. Because we're expecting our bucket van to be here around the 15th of May. So we'll get on to that. You know, as being a veteran too, I've seen the damages done to it, to these pictures and, you know, all these other banners. You know, I hope the wind slits help, you know. Any questions? Nope, all right.
So Darren, if people, because I know driving through the city, I noticed there are still several homes that have pretty good-sized piles of leaves.
Yeah.
Are any of the back trucks still, I mean, are they set up to, if someone would call? Because I know a couple of homes that I've seen have very large piles.
I've seen them too. We're also going to, right now it's bulk week, so we're out there helping with picking up the amnesty bulk and all that. I've advised my crew leaders to, when it's time to pick up limbs, use the grapple truck too to pick up the piles of leaves and sticks as well. If it gets too bad, I've seen the leaves out there. We made 3 rounds, so we got 5 zones. So we made 3 rounds during that time. So I know people, you know, they rake them out after we went by, or maybe they're still cleaning up after the storm damages, you know, and just getting up all the leaves. If we see a huge amount, which we're sending our crew leaders out to go look at them and stuff, check around the areas, and I think we should be able to send a leaf vac out, you know, okay?
Darren, could they call, especially if it's one of our elderly folks that obviously picking them up and bringing them to you is difficult? Could they call and ask for a special pickup?
Yeah, they can call, and we'll see what we can do. Like I said, once the grapple trucks are out there, they can scoop them and put them right in there with the stuff, depending on how bad it is. So we will make a run around probably next week just to check around, see how many actual piles are out there and get them taken care of. All right.
Well, and I want to thank you guys for coming out, because Saturday we had the citywide cleanup, and thank everybody. We had 60 volunteers, and I know that Colin and I were over at Gilbert Park, and we had 3 truckloads ourselves. So, I mean, we appreciate people helping our street department, but we had several bags. I know that you had to go around to clean up too. Because I
Yes.
think over by Gina's,
Mine was over off of Clem. It wasn't my district, but I was amazed just to see the different age generations too that showed up to help, and they did a phenomenal job, but it was a lot that we gathered.
Good,
Yeah.
because on that last day, we took 1 leaf vac out, and we went around Woodland Park, over to Olson Park, where the volunteers or park department employees did everything, and picked everything up over there, and
Yeah.
Gilbert Park, I believe.
the
So,
spring cleanups are important because all of that debris that collects over the wintertime, you know, in the plastic bags and everything, it was a lot to clean up.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
think we could probably do that twice a year because there was a lot.
there is
But
a
I
lot.
thank the volunteers that came out because it does help our street department too.
Oh,
Get that
definitely,
cleaned up.
definitely. 'Cause
thank
we
you
get
for
out there and
that.
start doing that, you know, and that's the other thing, is ask the businesses, you know, if they're hearing us out, just take care of your business areas, you know, even though it's not your trash. I've seen people that just, you know, they toss it right out the window. Do what we can, but, yeah, it'd be nice if the businesses took care of their stuff as well, to make it a lot easier, make it cleaner portage, you know.
I would like to add, I had the 2 young boys in our group, and they would wave at every car that went by, and it was neat to see by the end of the day, people were actually honking and waving, and hopefully it has an impact with others to step in.
Good. like to see
Thanks,
the youth
Darren. Does
involved.
anybody else have any questions for Darren? Are both of the grapple trucks now the CNG?
Yes, we just got both of those. Also, we took, at the Expo Center, took the CNG rear loader up there. So it was a good turnout besides all the sleet and stuff that hit that day, 41 degrees and, yeah. But I guess it was a good turnout. But yeah, we are cross-training with the street department along with sanitation to learn those trucks. So eventually we'll get more. So I think we're expecting a sidearm truck here soon. So, all right.
Thanks, Darren.
All right.
Thanks for your help. Diane, do you have a parks report?
Is there anything left for you, Diane? So is there anything left for you to talk about?
Well, that just tells you how connected the parks are to the rest of the city, right? Well, I will mention some of the things that were previously mentioned. Our Brewfest was celebrated on Earth Day, and we did have a lot of help from the firemen. They actually chose to, or they were driving the YMCA bus, and it was really fun to see all the people coming to the Brewfest, just excited to go to like a field trip. They were just like, hi, we're here. So that was really nice to have them get their safe ride home. The Community Cleanup Day was a huge success. And so important to our parks because there's so many parks and there's so much land and so much to do. I did make a post to let everyone know that you don't have to wait for a big event like that. If you have an organization or a group or just on your own, please help us out. Many hands make light work. So, but if you want us to point you in the right direction about how to help us paint a tunnel and then repaint the tunnel, and then repaint the tunnel, we can help. We can definitely tell you what needs the most attention. Like Olson was a big park for us because of the storm damage. There was a lot of limbs down, so that made a huge difference. The grapple truck coming and taking it all away was a huge difference. So, so you don't have to wait for a big event like that, but I definitely think at least one more this year. Maybe a fall cleanup would be really helpful. So, personnel. We're hiring, just like everyone else. We need part-time and seasonal. We need them now. We need them yesterday. We have a lot to do, so if you know anybody, we are hiring mostly grounds crew and athletics crew. We have 5 more fields to take care of, so we need people. I'm going to put up a banner at Gilbert to say now hiring, so they know we really need help. But spread the word if you can. Maintenance. Perry Park is just a little delayed. We're supposed to be getting the playground equipment in, and they said it was a little delayed, and then we have rain the the start of next week, so that might delay it a little bit, but hopefully that will be coming soon, and Perry Park will be back to normal. Events and programs. This Friday is our Mother-Son Super Fun event, so that's in relation to the daddy-daughter dance. We have the Mother-Son Super Fun superhero-themed event where they can watch a superhero movie and then do bounce houses. So that's this Friday. Also, Mother's Day weekend, the Saturday before Mother's Day, is our spring craft fair. So if you're looking for something to do with your mom or find a gift for your mom, the spring craft fair is next Saturday. We also have some upcoming city events. So we have the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast, and then we also have the Senior Health Fair coming up, and those are hosted inside the parks, along with the police events and other things like that. Athletics, the game started last night, so I don't know if anybody got to drive by and see how amazing it looked to see we ran out of parking, which is such a good problem to have, and Babe Ruth Field isn't even open yet, so it's going to be even bigger after the 10th or 11th when we can get on the big field. It just needed more time because I had more sod. But so there's a lot of people and hot dogs for sale. So come watch. Baseball games are going to be Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday nights. So please come down and cheer on the youth baseball. Youth soccer, the first games are this Saturday. So we're hoping that rain stays all the way till Sunday so we can get those games going. And then for financials, the one thing I just wanted to mention is a way for us to help keep the cost low for those programs are with sponsorships. So there's lots of ways you can sponsor the youth sports or other programs. You could sponsor a free movie. because we do the free movies on the Friday nights. You could sponsor that movie, or you could have a banner at the baseball field. So those are ways that you can help us offset some of those costs and help with our financials. I think that's it.
Do you have an application form? Is it on your website of what people can sponsor? So they go to Portage Parks?
We're working on a new updated flyer so they can see a list of everything. So it's all the sports that we have. Right now, if they just email the parks, we can let them know. And I have a baseball brochure that I brought with us. So if you want to sponsor a banner at the baseball fields, I did bring some brochures with us tonight. So, but we're going to work on a nice flyer that tells you everything that you can sponsor in the city.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions?
Thanks, Ty. Does
Thank
anybody have
you.
any questions for Diane? Thank you. I know it's a big job. People don't realize how much work 15 parks is with 4 people. Right. Tracy, do you have a plant report?
Good evening. So rain-wise, we are getting about 3.5 to 4 million gallons a day in the plant. A little bit more over 4 when it rains, a little bit more. We're still hoping for rain right now because we have meters out in the sewer lines to monitor any I&I that's occurring, that's leakage into the pipes. So we are hoping for rain. Don't want to ruin anyone's weekend or anything, but we are hoping for it. So we'll get a better idea. Oh, sorry, usually I'm praying not for rain, but right now, our clarifiers, we do have Evoqua who is doing the work on them. They are coming out next Tuesday to do scans on them, so we are getting work done on those coming up soon, starting. We are still waiting on SRF to find about our funding in June. This year, we've had a lot of SSOs, and that's sanitary sewer overflows. Out in the public, we've had a lot. We've had about 7 or 8 so far this year, which is a lot for us. We usually don't have more than 5 in a year. The culprit is wipes. So biodegradable wipes are not biodegradable. They do not go down your toilets. There's only 3 things that should go down that toilet. Nothing more, nothing. The 2 Ps and toilet paper. So that's the only thing. We are going to do a big campaign of sending flyers to the residents, taking them wherever. When there is an SSO in the area, we leave flyers on their doors to let them know, please do not flush wipes, baby wipes, similar things.
So even if they say flushable, they're not
They're
flushable,
not
right?
flushable.
Yep, I thought so.
They are not flushable. Absolutely not. They clog up the pumps, they clog up the lines, and then it eventually causes an overflow. We can jet those lines as many times as we want, and it can reoccur an hour after we're gone. So they are not flushable. Grease, don't go down your drains either. That's another culprit we have is grease. Besides that, the plant is running good. Everyone is doing their jobs. What I can say is different than everybody else in the city. We are fully staffed starting Monday, next week Monday. We are fully staffed. We will not be looking for anyone. We are fully staffed. We also today had Bitco, which is our workman's comp. They came out for an audit. They were very impressed with the city of Portage's safety. They had said every city they go to, he's from Miami, Florida, he came up for this. He said every city he has audited so far, he's had to do so many corrections. He was very impressed with the city of Portage and their safety. So we will get a report on that soon. So. So any questions, anything? I was going for the fastest one, so the fastest report. Oh, thank you very much. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know Barb said she didn't have a report tonight. So we have a report from Connor Phillips, who's with our youth group.
Well, starting off with the new business, the Youth Commission's planning on going to the dunes on June 14th to do like a little day out and trying to clean up and help the beach look much nicer. And then we're also trying to go do a tour of the police department to, just kind of see what all they do there. That way our youth can get an experience, if you will. And then we also are proud to announce that we have 6 new members coming into the Youth Commission for next year. So that'll be replacing the seniors that will be leaving, and we'll have a few new members overall at the end of it. And if anybody in this room still knows anybody that's interested in possibly joining, you can find an application on the website or come talk to me. I'll be here for a few minutes after the meeting. Any questions from the City Council?
You're now a new winner.
I was about to say, I think I got the shortest report. I'm sorry, Tracy.
Excited
Thank you,
about the
Connor.
new youth coming.
Did I miss anybody? If not, we have no unfinished business. New business, we have the introduction and adoption of ordinances. We have the second reading. President Podgorski.
Brian, would you take that?
Yeah, the second reading, ordinance of the City of Portage of Indiana amending Section 10 of the Municipal Code to add 10-41 entitled Chickens. Whereas the Common Council of the City of Portage has determined that it is now substantial and compelling interest in amending its municipal code to allow residents to keep chickens in city limits with restrictions. Be it and is hereby ordained by the Common Council of the City of Portage, Indiana as follows. Ordinance Amendment, Chapter 10, Article 2 shall be amended to include the Section 10-41, which shall read as follows. Chickens shall be allowed to be kept in the City of Portage with all the following requirements and restrictions. Chicken is a Gallus domesticus bird, typically kept on a farm. Definition not to include other fowl, but not limited to peacock, turkeys, waterfowl. B, no roosters. Male chickens shall be allowed under the provision of this section. There shall be no more than 5 chickens of any parcel of land within the city limits of Portage. Owners must have a fenced-in yard with a fence at least 6 feet in height, and chickens must be kept completely, securely enclosed and under the control of the owner and the owner's property at all times. A chicken coop, an enclosed structure for housing chickens that provides shelter from the elements, shall be provided and maintained in good order. The chicken coop must provide adequate sun, shade, ventilation. It must be impermeable to rodents, wild birds, predators, including cats, dogs, and provide at least 8 square feet or of space per chicken kept therein. The chicken coop and run shall be situated a minimum of 10 feet from property line. The chicken coop shall have a maximum height of 8 feet. Chicken shall be provided with access to food and clean water at all times. All feed for said chicken shall be stored in containers to protect against intrusion by rodents and vermin. The chicken coop shall be maintained in a sanitary condition in compliance with all applicable health regulations in state of Indiana, Porter County, and the city of Portage. Chickens and coops shall be confined to the rear of the property. Any chickens kept in accordance with these provisions, this section shall be non-commercial personal use and may not be slaughtered on the property. Let's say, let the record reflect this has been read in its entirety. I read most of it, again, just because we had made a few changes just to get rid of the minimum height. I think we changed, what was the fence, Deb? The fence line, was that the other thing we added?
That's in the yard, scoop itself. We also added about if they are zoned farm.
Agriculture. We allow chickens at law offices now. And slaughtering.
So we had made a few changes, so I just wanted to read the whole thing again, but that is the one that is being presented tonight for second reading and for a vote.
Make a motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
So just to be clear, I know this came up, I think either on Facebook last meeting. So all agricultural land is now exempted from this, right? Correct, okay.
I have a question regarding compliance. How are we to know if and when someone is in compliance or not in compliance, and then who would be in charge of enforcing that? Thanks.
So I believe it would be code enforcement, and that's the logical choice, or the police chief. And I guess I would suspect if we see some chickens, I guess we have to do some investigating.
And then animal control would be involved too, right, Mike?
Yeah, some combination of code enforcement and animal control. We'll work it out once you work your end out. We'll figure it out.
And do we have the resources to enforce this, to make sure people are in compliance? Because as we know, or as we've discussed, there are roosters currently in the city that we've heard ourselves, and so is anybody, so that's my concern. Thank you.
I mean, I think it'll be handled through your normal complaint process, right, Mike? Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say, a lot of the stuff is handled on a, complaint process. I mean, they do go around the city and look for things, but, a lot of that, stuff like that is just come through with complaints. So some of the stuff that you're mentioning, we may have just not gotten any calls on. I mean, if it's a turkey, then we get calls, but, we got a lot of those, but I don't recall getting any rooster calls recently, but,
I mean, there's no doubt there are people with chickens in the city already. I mean, we know that for a fact, so.
like everything
Yeah.
else, when there's a new ordinance, we'll, figure out how it fits into our duties, and we'll enforce it the best way we can, so.
Yeah, we drafted this in ordinance committee, and Assistant Chief Uslick was there. He was very helpful and made sure that we got in everything that he wanted in there, that they're able to do their job and all the things that they thought were necessary, and he assured us that they could handle it.
Mike, maybe a chicken complaint hotline?
Sure.
What
I'm okay with that. I will say that Assistant Chief Uzelak does have I'm gonna be honest, he has a little better pulse on the code enforcement side of it and animal control, so I know that he had met with y'all, and the concerns that he had, I believe, were addressed, so I'm giving you a half an answer, but I know that there's people in my department that could probably answer your question a little better, so.
Well, and I also know that when Assistant Chief Uselak met with us, he also wanted to, they were going to put something together. He had talked to the folks over at Petco and Pet Supplies about an information sheet that when someone is looking at going into having chickens, they would be given some information and some guidance, so they would be complying right out of the gate.
Yep, I do recall hearing that.
And what about rentals? They would have to have permission from the landlord before.
I mean, I would think it'd be handled the same way as a dog. You wouldn't be able to have a dog at your property without your landlord's approval, so.
I think, like, they're allowed on rental property because it's based on the zoning, but it would be up to the landlord, yep.
So we have motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Nina, would you call the roll, please?
Councilperson Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilperson Podgorski?
Yes.
Councilperson Geisers?
Yes.
Councilperson Williams?
Yes.
Councilperson Gully?
Yes.
Councilperson Zilli?
Yes,
Motion passes.
you
Thank
can
you.
have your chickens.
Chickens. People back there who want chickens.
We have ordinance 23-05. Madam President of the
Colin, would you be so
Certainly.
kind?
Ordinance number 23-05, an ordinance of the City of Portage, Indiana, amending Chapter 90, Article 5, City of Portage Municipal Code entitled Zoning Map. Be it and it hereby is ordained by the Common Council of the City of Portage, Indiana, as follows. Section 1, the ordinance shall amend Chapter 90, Article 5 of the City of Portage Municipal Code and accompanying zoning map in the following manner. The zoning shall be changed from R2 low-density residential to M1 multifamily residential and M2 multifamily residential for 33.7 plus or minus acres south of Lute Road between East Bend and Roswell Drive. Let the record reflect this has been read in its entirety. Motion to deny.
So I believe the developer or petitioner's attorney is here. If you have questions, I think you might want to say a few words at some point about this.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you very much. I'm here on behalf of the petitioner. Altoff Homes. Ed Rechtenwall from the company joins me as well. As was indicated, this is a 33-acre parcel excuse me, on the south side of Lute Road. This is a difficult site. It's been the subject of a couple petitions through to the city. A failed attempt to rezone and develop about 3 years ago. And then when that failed, the property owners, the Lute family, had the property revert back to the R2 zoning that it currently owns or possesses today. The reason for that was to provide the best opportunity for a developer to come forward. And in my opinion, that happened. Altoff Homes became interested in the property and is now your petitioner to rezone the property in a bifurcated two districts for multifamily, townhomes and some paired patio duplex type homes on the property. When we started the process 11 months ago, we proposed a site plan showing a different configuration, layout, more townhomes versus the paired patios, and went through a series of staff reiterations of that and worked with staff for a long period of time. Then we filed in September our actual application to go to the Plan Commission. When we got to the Plan Commission, there was some reservations there. As Gina can attest, we had quite a few discussions at the Plan Commission. In the October meeting, we came before the Plan Commission with 3 different site plans, A, B, and C, and we talked about all of those. And we got a lot of feedback from the Plan Commission. And from that, we distilled what is essentially what you have today as far as our proposed site plan and the layout of the 2 different zoning classifications, the M1 and the M2. And in that process, I think the layout has become much more acceptable to the city. And we have and are proposing in the petition tonight certain conditions. Not only are we asking you to rezone it in that bifurcated zoning districts, but we're proposing 4 different commitments. The other problem with this property, in my opinion, is it's one of the most unique pieces of property in my practice that I've ever come across. I know you really can't see this. We talked about this at the Plan Commission. What you can tell from this, though, is the different colors. Our property is the yellow property on this map, and you can see all of the different colors that touch that property. And what that means is those different colors are different zoning classifications that touch this 33 acres. There's 5. 5 different zoning classifications touch this property. So when planners look at zoning and zoning maps, they look at transitions. You don't put industrial properties next to residential properties. There's a transition or a flow from more intense districts to lighter districts. This one doesn't have the ability to do that because it's got institutional, it's got Menards and C2 on the south side, it's got R2 on the north side, it's got office on the southwest, it's got multifamily to the west, Breckenridge Apartments. It's got all of these different uses, all of these different zoning classifications. So it's a very difficult project, and I believe calls for a unique way to zone and work with the property. And I think that's what our concept plan has done. So as I indicated, our proposal is for this M1 and M2, paired patios, 90 paired patio, paired cottage homes, and 40 townhomes. The 2 or 3 townhome buildings are along the south where the Menards are. That's the most intense use. And even within this 33 acres, then, we create that transition from the townhomes to the paired patios to the R2 to the north. I think a really well thought-out process.
Todd, you may have touched on this, but you said there were 4 precedents or 2 conditions. Do you want to?
I'm going to hit those right now.
Okay.
So the first thing that the agreement for written commitments does is it incorporates the concept plan. And then it says, we're going to do and commit in contract form, in an agreement, 4 things. We're going to install a pedestrian path. Our southwest corner touches the school, and there is a sidewalk that comes to the ball fields, but it is extended off. It doesn't come all the way to our property line. So we're going to reach out and touch and pick that path up and bring it into our subdivision and into our subdivision, into the sidewalk system. We have to say only if the school will allow it, because it's not our property, but I assume that they would certainly do that. The other thing, number 2 on our commitments, is to install a robust landscape buffer provided along the entire east property line, not less than 60 feet wide. Buffer yards are usually 20 to 30 feet wide. This is twice that, 60 feet wide, to include a raised earthen berm, fence, and heavy landscaping. Number 3, we're going to dedicate a right-of-way, Augusta Boulevard. I think this is an important, certainly it was to the planning staff, commitment that we pick up Augusta Boulevard as it ends near the northern property line where Menards is, bring that through the property all the way to Lute Road and line it up as it is on the north side of Lute Road. That's a thoroughfare plan requirement, and so this plan agrees and commits to do that. And then the last, Attorney Whitten, the last of the 4 commitments is to limit the number of driveways on Augusta Boulevard. We can't eliminate it, but as you can see from the concept plan that's attached to the agreement for written commitments, we've limited that to just a handful of driveways, ones we couldn't eliminate by our traffic circulation routing. So I think we've done a really good job over 11 months of working with the city, if you will, offline with staff, and then at public meetings with the Plan Commission to come up with a plan that really, really works. Mr. Rector-Wall and I are happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So Todd, I have a question on this robust landscape buffer. Who's going to maintain that buffer?
That will be on the property, so that will be either the association or the homeowners, because it'll be part of their the backyards of those lots.
So that'll be a homeowners association?
Yes, there'll be a homeowners association for sure, absolutely.
And how do we know when that fails? Because we've had that issue before. So there's been homeowners associations, and then it falls back to the city, and the parks and the streets end up taking care of it.
So homeowners associations are doomed to fail if they don't have anything to do. And the more you can encourage a homeowners association to be involved in their community, like maintaining amenities, then they have as good a chance to be successful as we can as developers make them. But once Olthoff is done, once we have built the subdivision, we have to give them all the tools to succeed. But we're not the guarantor going forward, just as the city is not.
Because we have several places in the city where we were told that, and then now we're maintaining them.
Well, it's the backyard of all of these homes, so they're going to be very engaged in making sure that their backyards are going to look nice. They're not going to allow bushes or trees to die and become unsightly in their own backyard.
Not necessarily agree with you.
Well, I was going
I'm
to say,
not done,
the site
Colin.
plan doesn't necessarily show that,
Colin,
though.
I'm not
But
done. Are you going to have any kind of bicycle trails that go through there? Because you have sidewalks. How wide are these sidewalks? Because we're looking to, make our city more pedestrian friendly. So if you don't have that.
We do have trails in the green areas, but those trails connect to the sidewalks, and the sidewalks are whatever your code requires, it will be the width of the sidewalk. I assume they're probably 5 foot.
And then what is the impact to the Loop Road traffic?
Well, I think it's actually a benefit because we're going to bring Augusta Boulevard to the north. So I think that is a very positive. Your thoroughfare plan requires it. So the traffic has the ability, under a normal circumstance, the traffic would only go to Loop Road. But now we've connected it down to Highway 6 through Augusta Boulevard. So the traffic can actually go in 2 different directions. It disperses quicker.
Because that's only a 2-lane road, and there's a lot of bus traffic, and there's really no sidewalks on Loop Road.
Understood. But if this were to be developed as R2, as it currently is zoned, Augusta Boulevard may not go through, and all of that traffic, 100% of it would go to Loop Road.
Okay.
So you mentioned that the residents would be responsible for the buffer, but the site plan that's in front of us, are these property lines? Because the property lines are not going through the buffer.
So they are property lines, and so that strip where the buffer is common area. So that's why the association's going to be primarily responsible. What you're asking me is, what happens if the association fails? And I'm suggesting that if that happens down the road, if I'm that property owner, I'm not going to allow for dead trees to be in my backyard because there's nothing that's going to separate that common area strip that's 60 feet wide from the back of my lot. So
Practically, I agree with you, I agree with you in concept, but practically that's not been my experience. If it's not on someone's property, they're not going to probably deal with it.
Well, everybody's
That's my
a little
experience,
different, exactly. But I suppose if it's a dead tree, I'm going to not be very happy about it and take it out.
So the townhomes,
Yes.
those are the rentals?
Those would be sales.
They would be sales.
Condominiums, I assume, Ed?
Ed Rectenwall with Old Toff Homes. Evening. They're for sale fee simple townhomes, so each individual unit is owned by a single owner. And just to address the HOA thing a little bit further, so we establish our HOAs from day one of the project. So the minute that we have one owner purchase, the HOA is already established with a management company in place, and we are capturing fees from day one to make sure that the HOA is supported financially and fundamentally. I think you'll find that some of the HOAs that we've established throughout the area are still in existence. I don't think we've had one that has failed that I'm aware of, and I've been with the company for 11 years now. So,
We have people from Hidden Waters,
Yep.
and that's an HOA in there, and
yes.
we've had issues over there.
But if I'm correct, you all did not establish the Hidden Waters HOA.
We did not establish the Hidden Waters. I mean, we did not. So Sterling Creek HOA we did establish. As far as I know, that one's operating. We've turned that one over to the residents, I think, late last year. Again, we try to make sure that they're financially viable before we even think about turning them over, and we do that as in a most responsible manner that we can. So,
Well, one of the things that's important, and Ed just exactly touched on it, but let me highlight it, is oftentimes developers go in, and in order to facilitate quicker sales or be more active in sales, they don't charge assessments from the beginning because they want people to come in, oh, I'm covering the assessments for the first 5 years or the first 3 years. If Old Toff is charging from day one, then the homeowners are accustomed to paying that assessment so that when Old Toff is ready to leave, it's not a new assessment that hits 100 new homeowners. And that happens a lot. And when that happens, those homeowners go, well, we didn't know we were supposed to be paying because they haven't been paying for 3 or 4 or 5 years. And it's a big shock. And so there's all pushback and attempts to undo what the developer has set up as far as an association. But if you do it professionally from the beginning with a management company and invoice them from day one, then there's no shock when the developer leaves.
On the HOA fees, what do you use as a basis to determine how much those fees are when these folks buy in?
Well, we go to past projects or projects that have similar amenities and features, and we use that as our basis, and then we go from there. We bring in bids from different maintenance contractors for the common spaces, the buffers. We want to make sure those get maintained properly. So we go out, we bid out all those features to make sure that we have an appropriate dollar amount, and then we build a budget starting day one, and that's what we establish those fees.
So
Now,
what are you anticipating the fees for this development's going to be out of the gate?
I would expect these to probably be in the range of $200 a month. Yes.
And then
Yeah.
how long are you going to hang on to make sure that this HOA is fully established and running correctly, and they've got their bylaws and their covenants and their board and?
Yep, so our bylaws, covenants, they're all established from day one. In fact, we have boilerplates that we can provide you if you'd like to see them. But we have those in place, we record them with the first recording of the plat. So the minute the first lots are available for sale, our covenants get recorded. Our budgets are in place because we have our HOA fees written into the contracts. So when we're selling the units to the residents, they're aware that there is an HOA. There is an association fee that they would be paying monthly along with their mortgage. Our customers are also provided the covenants and restrictions up front with this, when they come into our sales center, so they have them when they're trying to make their decisions. They're able to review them and ask questions of us if they'd like. We try to run our HOAs through a process now. As the declarant of the site, obviously we're liable from day one to till the whole thing is sold out. But we try to transition the property at about 80%, though we do subsidize all the way through to the last lot is sold. So if there's things that need to be taken care of and they're still struggling a little bit with maintaining the finances, we come in, we'll subsidize. We do one final subsidy at the end to make sure that they're taken care of for an amount of time moving forward, so they can cover the common lots, they can cover the dog parks, maintenance, things like that. So we're pretty actively involved in the HOAs, throughout the life of the project.
Do you educate them on if they ever need to make a change to their covenants and bylaws, how they do that process?
We attempt to, so we go through a transition process. When we get to 80%, we bring in a transition committee, so we try to bring residents into the HOA and provide that level of education. Now, they do work with a management company, so sometimes HOA or OLTOF representatives, such as myself, are not there on the day-to-day with them, but we do have management companies in place that work with them to try to address some of the concerns they have. So, we have instances where when we're developing or building, some residents don't like the restrictions we have in. Like, we restrict sheds, we restrict a lot of stuff when we're developing, just because the scale of our company, it's sometimes tough for us to manage the intricate details that each municipality might have as it relates to those type of items. But we allow them at the end, when we get close to being complete with the project, to come in and suggest changes to those covenants. And we would help them work through making changes, as long as it gets put through a vote, as long as all the residents agree that would be considered, we would work with them on that. And we do try to educate them to the best of our ability.
One last thing. The management company that you use, is it the same one all the time?
We try to keep it consistent, yes. And there's
So
really.
you're not bouncing around
No,
to different ones?
And there's really only one in the area that can handle the type of volume that we provide. So we've been with this one many years. And yes, we try to keep one management company in place, so.
And just to confirm, this isn't a maintenance-free community, right?
The paired cottage, yes, it will be maintenance-free. The paired cottages will be maintenance-free. That'll include lawn care, snow removal. Actually, that'll be across the board. So for the paired cottages and the townhome buildings. The alleyways will be maintained by the homeowners association.
Now that makes sense for $200 a month. I was
it's
calculating that in my head.
Completely maintenance-free community.
So I have one other question. So obviously, homeowners associations, they have restrictions on what they can do with their property, what they can build on their property. Do you also work with our building department so that everyone understands that? So the covenants can say one thing, but yet they'll bypass that. That's just kind of human nature.
Yep.
And they'll go to the building department, and the building department's gonna say, no, that's not how we do things. Are you making sure that everybody's on the same page?
Again, we try our best, so there is an architectural review committee in the HOA, so any changes that they want to make has to come through that committee, which in the interim, while we're building again, is Old Toff Homes. And then we have attempted in the past to try to communicate that to to the building, to individual building departments. There has to be active communication, though, for that to really work, because we do tend to restrict things more than what maybe the city would allow. So again, this one doesn't have it, but for example, we do restrict above-ground swimming pools in some of our communities, sheds, things like that, where the city would allow it. If they didn't come in with a letter from the ARC, we would hope that the building department would understand that they shouldn't be approving that building permit, so.
So Gina, I know you're on the Plan Commission. Is there anything that was of great concern that hasn't been addressed?
Like he stated earlier, they've approached the Plan Commission several times with different options and answered all the questions that we pretty much had. And it stated here that as far as the Plan Commission, 5 voted for yes and 3 were nay.
It was,
Was there something specific?
it was though at 1.44, right? For a while, I remember that plan commission meeting. I think it might have been, I can't, Todd, do you remember?
I do believe it was 4-4, and then a member, we made a concession, and a member went to the 5-3. But again, it received a favorable recommendation. And like I said, we've done quite a bit. I've got a whole litany of all of the different changes of how the project went from mostly townhomes to a few paired cottage homes to now it's, the vast majority of it is the duplex or the twin homes.
So Gina, the 3 nays, were they opposed to something in particular?
Not to my knowledge.
There were a lot of concerns. I'll just share. I think a lot of it had to do with Augusta Boulevard and driveways. But what we've really done is protect the north and the east. And I think early on, that was the Plan Commission's concern. Certainly it was the staff's concern before we even got to Plan Commission. But we've done that by that robust buffer, and no townhomes touch R2 outside of the property.
I'm sure it's in here somewhere. Is ownership of the property contingent on the zoning change? I assume you all don't own it yet, right?
No, it's under contract right now.
It's under contract, but it's contingent upon the zoning change, right?
Yes.
I guess kind of speaking for the Lute family, because they were a former client, they're not my client tonight, but this has been a problem property. We don't know what to do with this property. And I think Olthoff has come up with a really good plan. Over 11 months and probably 11 different iterations of the site. So the problem will persist if we don't solve the problem. And the Lute family is going to be the ones who are going to be left trying to figure that out.
Thank you.
So then I want to go back to the buffer again. I don't mean to be a pain about the buffer, but the buffer will be maintained by the homeowners association, so any trees or anything in there that die off, they have to replace them?
That's correct. And there would be restrictions written into the covenants, which would mandate that.
Because I've seen some of those buffers, and then they get pretty scrappy looking, and that's an eyesore for the city.
Sure.
Remember, I started in response to that by saying associations are doomed to fail if they don't have anything to do. It's a maintenance-free community, so they've got lots to do. And taking care of those trees are just part of it.
And in there, when we talk about trees, are you going to put in there the types of trees that they can put versus the types of trees that we may not want, like those those ash trees that have a tendency to get that nasty little beetle that kills them all off?
Yeah, I mean, we're more than willing to restrict any plantings or species that are not favorable.
Do you have an arborist that you work with that will tell you about that before they're planted?
Not typically. Now, when we come in for primary, if we come in for primary, we would engage a landscape architect to put together a landscape plan. So I would think we could direct them to put in, hardy species of trees and spruce. But yes,
Will any of the buffers, because we don't have like a full site plan, be in easements?
They're conservation easements, yes. I mean, they're separate parcels.
Utility easements, that's what I mean.
Oh,
Will any of that be utility easements?
It's very tough to tell right now. We haven't done any serious engineering on the site yet. Is there potential for that to happen? I mean, there could be encroachments here and there. The intention, though, is for that not to
I'm
happen.
more so concerned about city utility easements, not NIPSCO, not Indiana American Water, but.
No, most of the city utilities would be up front in the road. Yeah.
And then drainage-wise, is this draining, are you holding all of the water, and then does it drain out north into Savannah Heights, into the stormwater system? Because we don't have a grading, I know you haven't done engineering
So
yet.
again, no engineering. We do, we would have to meet the City of Portage storm drain ordinance, and the ordinance requires us to direct our flow to a retention detention facility and then release it at a much more manageable rate.
The land planner who prepared the site plan does look at topography. We're not going to put we're not going to propose a detention pond on a hill or a high point. So it's showing it to the west. So the largest one is in the southwest. So my guess is that's the general
That
flow.
side
Yeah.
flows southwest, and
Right.
the one up north probably goes northwest, so.
I would agree.
Okay, I got one more. You know that last month, when you came, we expressed concerns over complaints that we had gotten, some Better Business Bureau complaints, and you responded, and you tried to explain it. What is the plan going forward to address these things up front, to head them off, so we don't have residents that are having those kinds of issues? Is there a process that you're going to follow?
First and foremost, Olthoff will be at the forefront of this one. And I think a lot of the concerns that were expressed or we've heard, or we're trying to gauge, was where Olthoff is building in somebody else's designed subdivision. They've kind of come in. So Olthoff is at the forefront. So we're going to be setting up the association. We're going to be doing the engineering. We're going to be doing the plating. All of those things are under our control, and we do it a lot. Olthoff develops all over. So that's going to be, I think, the answer to your question. How are we going to protect those things from happening? We're going to be in control, and we're going to be in control from the start.
I mean, we get to start this from scratch. I mean, we hire and engage engineers that understand that we want to see grades on our grading plans, and then we also demand our earthwork and site contractors to meet those grades. I think I can point to our Sterling Creek subdivision here in Portage behind Planet Fitness. We developed that ourselves, and I don't think we've had complaints that I know of. Again, there could be some floating out there, but I haven't heard any. And, we went into, again, an existing subdivision in Hidden Waters that was already designed, already kind of built, and we tried to retrofit it the best we could. But this one, we have control over the grading, and we typically don't see those type of complaints in our communities that we develop.
Are there any other questions for the,
So I don't think your motion has a second.
I need a second.
You don't have to get a second, but if there is no second, then.
We have a motion. Do we have?
second.
We have a motion and a second to deny. Nina, would you call the roll?
Councilperson Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilperson Podgorski?
No.
Councilperson Geis-Hurst?
No.
Councilperson Williams?
No.
Councilperson Gully?
No.
Councilperson Zilli?
Yes.
Motion to approve?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, Nina, would you call the roll, please?
Councilperson Alvarez?
No.
Councilperson Podgorski?
Yes.
Councilperson Geishers?
Yes.
Councilperson Williams?
Yes.
Councilperson Gully?
Yes.
Councilperson Zilli?
No.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
At this time, we will entertain public input. If anybody would like to address the council, please come forward to the little podium there and state your name and your address.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Chuck Helmink, 5409 Tulip Avenue. Come to you tonight. A lot of you have known me quite a few years. You follow me on Facebook. You see my fun posts, me and my kid, me and my concerts, and my fishing trip. Speaking of my fishing trip up to Chetek, Wisconsin, it's got a little Indiana feel. A lot of people from here have actually been there. Bill Lundy's daughter lives up there. Assistant Chief Uslak's got a place nearby there. Last year, we met a female officer up there having dinner with her husband, entertained her, bought her dinner. She came over and talked to us. Everybody I go up there is all police officers, a councilman from St. John, and her and her husband came over and talked to us. Well, last month, her name is Emily Bradenbach. She's a Chetek police officer. Her and Cameron, police officer, initiated a traffic stop. The gentleman got out, open fired. They fired back. Both officers died at the scene. The suspect also died. Having worn a Marine Corps uniform and a police uniform as a reserve, you know, anytime I hear any of our military, our first responders, anybody that's out there putting the public first, you know, dies in the line of duty, you know, it pulls your heartstrings, and even more when it's somebody you know. So the group that I'm going up there with, we've already donated money. We're going to get a nice memorial plaque. What I would like to do is anybody, since all of our department heads are here, if they can send an email out to employees, I'd like to take up a nice collection. And since this is live streamed on Facebook, if our residents would like to make a donation to these two officers' family, Hunter Shield, Cameron County Police Officer for Cameron, Wisconsin, Emily Bradenbach, Chetek Police. So I would like to, I go up there June 3rd, maybe by June 2nd, if we have any money donated, whoever our city banks with, whatever's collected, if we can have a cashier's check made out to the Chetek Police Department. My group is going to go up there and donate our plaque, and I would like to go to the police department with maybe a letterhead from the mayor's office offering the condolences of these two officers, and whatever's raised can help the family. Hunter Shield was also a Army National Guard member, so he's somebody that's dedicated his life to the public and our country. He just had a girlfriend. I don't believe he had any kids. Emily was married and had two young daughters. So my heart goes out to them. My best friend, Nick Staymate, he's a St. John police officer. He had permission from his department, and council person, Mike Schilling of the St. John, they went up there for the funeral and honored our area up there. So if any people in our city, our employees would be able to help donate, I'd appreciate that. I'd like to go up there and show them a little bit of Indiana love, because there is a lot of Indiana feel up in that area. It's a lot of Indiana plates. So it means a lot to me, and I hope that we could do something for that.
So I think, Chuck, I need to find out, Nina, maybe you can walk us through that. If donations came in, how would that work?
We could set something up at the bank if we wanted to.
Okay, I'd appreciate that. Like I said, I go up there on June 3rd, so whatever we may have by June 2nd, if I can, I'll keep in touch with whoever can help spearhead this, you know, with the important work of it, you know. I'd appreciate that. Nina, would I be able to speak with you on that, or Okay.
Chuck, have you considered a GoFundMe? Because I know they can designate.
I don't know how that works, and I know there's a lot of fees that go into that, and I would not want to shortchange somebody who's in need of something, and if they can either bring it to whatever the city banks or the clerk treasurer's office or, somewhere here, and whatever our departments can gather up amongst our employees,
So if people want to give money to you, are you supposed to give it to Nina, or she'll set
I
up
will,
the
I will
bank
definitely
account,
give
or
that to Nina.
You'll need to
and-
iron that out so that
Yes,
that.
yes.
yeah.
Maybe on my lunch break tomorrow or after work with time, or I could set up somewhere I can come in and speak to you, Nina. I appreciate that. I can either email you or message you. Right.
Okay. Thanks,
Appreciate-
Chuck.
All right, appreciate you guys. Thank you.
I got to tell you, Chuck, as a veteran and a cop of many years, what you're doing is all right, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
I appreciate all of you guys, and actually, congratulations on everybody that won their race yesterday. I was out at Fagley for 12 hours, and I want to commend everybody, because all the candidates out there, is really nice to see everybody shaking hands and hugging and talking. To me, that's a good sense of our city. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to bring anything before the council at this time? If not, I think Dan had something to bring up.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I just had something real quick. I received a number of phone calls suddenly to my law office, the city attorney. Some folks were getting some letters from code enforcement regarding house numbers on their house. And in looking into it, meeting with the respective chiefs, I realized that code enforcement had sent out some rather antiquated letters from years back that really didn't illustrate the tone of what we were trying to do. And I believe Chief Candiano could speak to this, and certainly Chief Wilkening, where we've had some incidents in the city where house numbers weren't on the houses. It causes a delay. If there's an emergency situation at your house, it was really meant to be a reach out trying to get homeowners, for their own personal safety, to sort of partner up and get the house numbers on the house. And again, speaking as a cop of many years, it can be quite a delay to look for a house and there's no numbers. And that moment of delay can be the difference between life and death. So, Chief?
Yeah, and we had posted something on Facebook, but not everybody sees that, so maybe we can reach out to some other people here. So we did realize that there were a lot of houses in the city that did not have their house numbers according to code. And so we put one of our code enforcement people on there as one of the things to work on. Turns out that they are very motivated and hit a lot of homes. So about a day or so into this, they actually came to us and said, hey, this letter that I was given, they have files of different letters, form letters that have been used over the years, and they came and said, this letter seems a little harsh. So we reviewed the letter and actually pulled it after that. So from that point on, most of the contact that they've been having has been face-to-face and explaining to people what we were trying to do. So I think it's improved, but there was definitely, when they first went out, it ruffled some feathers. So the first thing I'll tell you is that the whole point of this was not to raise money for the city. If we have to raise money for the city by writing fines for house numbers, we got bigger problems. I mean, if that's our moneymaker, we probably need to go back to the drawing board. So it really was a public safety thing. We got some responses. Well, my address is on my mailbox. I'm going to tell you, and I know that probably our fire department and everybody else here, sometimes that stuff doesn't line up. Sometimes there isn't a mailbox in front of the house. As well as this city is laid out with numbering, better than a lot of cities that I've seen. It is laid out well. It's not always an exact science. And one of the worst things that you can feel going to getting on scene and knowing you need to be there is being at the wrong house. Again, I've experienced it. I'm sure my officers have. I'm sure you all have too. So, we get dispatched to a house for whether it's a police emergency, fire emergency, whatever it is, we want to be able to make sure we're at the right house. And that was the whole point behind it. So again, Letters probably weren't the best route to go. We did change that, but it was for emergency services. So piggyback on what Dan said, there's been a couple instances within the last month throughout the country where there's been some mistaken homes. There's been some things that ended up badly. If you're not aware, check the news. I don't want to go into that too detailed, but some of that can be prevented by making sure you're at the right house. So that's all it was. We were actually looking out for people, trying to make sure we could do our job the best. Sounds like we made a lot of people angry, but that was not the intent, and the intent was not to raise money for the city. It was purely for a emergency services side of it. So I don't know if you got anything, but that jive with you guys? Okay. So, yep, no problem.
And I'll say, I was one of them. I didn't have numbers on my house. I had a sign out front and letters on my mailbox. $20, had it delivered same day from Amazon. Solar powered, lighted sign for the front of my house. So you can get it fixed and keep the neighborhood safe.
And we were cited right after we moved to the city 26 years ago, and we lived in the house 3 days. And I came home and there was a big red thing on my front door, and it was like, we are subject to the same rules as everybody else. So we ended up going out and getting larger house numbers. There were house numbers on my house, but they weren't big enough, so.
I've joined Councilman Williams in admitting my code violation at a meeting.
I was guilty as well.
Of a different violation. The recycling violation.
So in the future, if people don't have numbers on their homes, which there are a lot in the city, I can attest, is there a way for us to provide numbers that are for sale, the way we do rain barrels and things like that, to add to the safety and those kind of things? And of course, it's just an idea, but that's something maybe worth pursuing. Thank you.
Sure, it's something worth thinking about, Councilman Alvarez, certainly, since this is such a public safety issue, and it is a big one.
Yeah, and I know there's a variety of different kinds of house numbers, like Colin's got the fancy ones that light up when you touch them, so I just have regular old house numbers, and I think that's what Councilperson Alvarez was talking about. And that's a good thing, too, and even when we're out around and we're at people's house, maybe we should have some kind of a piece of paper that we can hand them and say, hey, you don't have any house numbers, and these are the reasons that we would like to see you get them.
I can attest to the fact that code enforcement has a handout, so, because it was given to me at my door.
So are there any other matters to come before the council?
I do have one matter,
Okay.
and it's an informational piece. This Saturday, from 9 to 2, will be the first household hazardous waste collection. We do this throughout the county, so it's at the Expo Center from 9 to 2, and you're to go through Gate 3. It's a great opportunity to get rid of things if you have antifreeze and batteries and motor oil, things that you can't put in the normal recycling. So that opportunity exists this Saturday.
Thank you, Scott. And I think, Darren, our compost site is up and running now, up north, so you can take things up there as well. You can take books, you can take TVs, all kinds of things. So we're trying to keep that stuff out of the landfill and extend the life of our landfills. So, okay, everyone, is there anybody else that has anything to bring up? No, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.